everyone, this is Jenny. Today we have a special guest, Rena. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself. So obviously this is Rena. She goes to where?
I go currently right now to Santa Monica College, but before this, I actually went to Pasadena, where I played my 2 years in college soccer.
Perfect. Okay, so if you didn't get from there, we are talking about playing sports in community college, specifically for her playing soccer in community college. And we want to just get to know, like, what does it mean to play soccer, all these other questions that we have for her. And I actually have a couple of notes down here. So when you were in high school, it seems like you probably played soccer. How did you know you wanted to play soccer after high school?
Well, for me, it was more so like, I've been playing soccer for so long, just sports in general. So for me, like, when I transitioned into college, I just didn't want to stop playing. That's probably like the most simplest way I can put it. But I knew that it was definitely going to be a different change for me. I just didn't know how big that change was going to be.
When you play soccer for a community college, is it exactly like going to a Division I, like actual university where you get recruited? How does it work? Do you get recruited or can you walk on? Like, what is it?
It's definitely both, because I've seen my teammates that actually have gotten recruited from either another community college or from high school. Okay. In my case, I actually had to go out because I didn't have a coach that helped me out throughout that process. So it was more so like, testing the waters. I actually contacted a lot of, schools before I decided to go to Pasadena. So I actually contacted LA Valley College, Santa Monica, and Pasadena. And the one that came back to me was LA Valley College and as well as Pasadena. And so at the end, I had a family member that went to Pasadena. So that was like just the decision why I decided to go there. So a familiar face, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you try out? Like, this goes with, obviously you do tryouts, but like, do they see you and they're like, this is the person we want, like a recruiting thing? Or do you, even if you get recruited, you still have to try out? Or like, well, how does it work?
Being through the tryout process, just like a long time, and just looking back into it, it depends on the coach for sure. A lot of coaches will bring in players, but they still have to try out. And, even though whether you're there for a day or for a couple weeks, decisions could happen on the spot. And, if it's your last day, it's your last day. So the process for me when I went to Pasadena is that it was 2 months before season started, and they had 30 girls come into the team, and basically every day they were cutting players out, and it was a 2-month process. So before, like 2 weeks before, like September, that's when we knew that's the final roster. So
okay,
it definitely was definitely everyone tries out at that level. Nothing's ever guaranteed, but if you're a veteran, it's more so like they already know who you are, but you still have to try out.
Okay.
Same thing with recruits as well.
Okay. So what would you say are the disadvantages and the advantages of playing sports, in your case soccer, in a community college? What are the advantages to playing sports in college?
There's more opportunities, whether you're a student or just if you want to see what your options are at the next level, because after you leave high school, you enter a world where not everything is done for you. So it really is testing water. So you get to see more of what goes on before even if your goal isn't to hit the professional level, you get to see more what goes on in that world. So for me, the advantages of that was that it opened me to a lot of opportunities in school, especially like what I wanted to do.
In what way? Like school, like studying majors?
Yes, like major wise.
Oh, okay. How did that open those advantages? Like, how did you get those advantages?
It's crazy. I actually had to do a lot more with family. Like, I sat down with my cousin and I explained to him, like, I wasn't really happy in school, but I was happy because I had, sports, but I wasn't happy with what I was studying with. And so I didn't know at the time that, there's a lot that you can do and still be involved in the sports life without being an athlete. And that's something that I wanted to do.
Oh, okay. So what's your major again?
Kinesiology.
Okay, so that makes sense because through the sport you figured out something you like studying.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. How about the disadvantage?
Disadvantages of playing in college?
Yeah.
Definitely it takes a lot of your time. I think a lot of people, when they go into it, they think it's going to be the same thing as high school. and when they go into their first year, it kind of weeds out like, is this something that you want to do long term? So I would definitely say that would be like a disadvantage.
What would you say on average, or like how many days a week do you practice for how many hours with the team and on your own? Because obviously you practice the team, but you also have to practice on your own.
I definitely was at school 5 out of like 7 days.
Okay.
And I was always training, so I never really had a day off. Because if I wasn't in the field, I was in the weight room. If I was in the weight room, I was running. So my whole life was dedicated to, you know, sports and school at the same time.
Okay.
So I was always in school.
Did you have time for other things other than sports and school, or you feel like you were pretty much maxed out?
I was pretty much maxed out for sure, because you know, when you're in school in high school, like you have a lot of free time, you know. But when you're in school in college, it's so much.
It's very different.
It's very, very different, and I almost say like it was kind of like a slap in the face when I went into college, because I didn't know how much things, you know, how much time, you know, it takes to do everything. And this was even before I had a job.
Yeah.
Yes.
So were you, at some point, did you balance soccer, school, and a job?
I did. And it was tough balancing all three, especially when I didn't have a car. So travel time, I had to know how to manage that. Like, okay, how long does it take for me to get to point A to point B to point C? And how to time manage, you know, my studying time as well as my athletics. So it definitely takes a lot of time management to figure out what works for you. Because the last thing you want to do is, like, you know, stress yourself out without, you know, procrastination and stuff.
Oh, so can someone get a scholarship for playing at a community college?
That's a good question. I haven't heard about that. I know I've heard of like grants and stuff, but I haven't heard.
But is it grants sports based, or is it grants just like federal grants?
Yeah, like federal grants, also like academics, but I haven't heard anything like sports one.
So I kind of Googled this one because I thought it was a good idea too. Like, I was like, I wonder if people do, because if you're a really good community college, like a Division I community college, I figured this out. If you're a Division I community college, you actually because you get recruited, there is opportunities for scholarships.
Like to attend like the community college? I did not know that, and I wouldn't be surprised because it always depends on the program.
Exactly.
There's so many different programs out there. I was very lucky that I actually got to experience 2 different types. They were in the same league, 2 completely different types of programs. And
meaning they were ran differently, or
they were ran differently, and the opportunities that each school provided were different.
Okay.
So I could see like why that could be like the case, but I did get to experience 2 different types.
So this kind of goes with what I was going to ask you too, because you say you went to 2 different schools.
Yeah.
How many years can you play in a community college?
You know, that's interesting, because I've seen it not only in my own sport, but I've seen it for different sports too. Like usually for community colleges, you're only allowed to be there for 2 years max. It really depends on the athlete and the program if they're actually allowed to repeat like another year. Because I've actually seen some other sports where the athlete's been there for 4 years. But it also cuts down to where, like, if you want to transfer, it's going to cut into your
transfer time.
Transfer time, yeah.
So if, say, you did 3 years in community college, then you could, if you transfer, you want to do a sport in another school, you only get to do it for 2 years.
2 years? And
at max.
Max, I would say 2 years. But it also depends on what division you're playing at, because every division has its own set of rules.
We kind of talked about this, but wait, being a student athlete requires a lot of time, right? Yes. And then we kind of talked about this. So how did you manage your time personally? Like, did you have it in a planner? Did you what did you do? Like, you know how you were saying you traveled from one place to another and you were doing public transportation? Did you study during that time? Like, how were you more effective with your time management?
I think I became more effective with my time when I went to Mount Sac, because the distance was a lot longer of what I was really used to. So whenever I wasn't at the field or I wasn't in classes, I had a lot of gap between both things. And so if I was, in between both things, I would go to the library or like eat lunch somewhere, and I'll just study at the same time. Mm-hmm. And if I was, going to school, I would study in the bus, and then coming back, same thing. Because when I went to Mount San Antonio, I was there from like 7 a.m. to like 7 p.m. Mm-hmm. And the bus time was like 2 hours to come back and forth. So
One way?
One way. Yeah. One way was like 2 hours over there, and then when I came back home, it was another 2 hours. And that actually depended if I caught the bus in time. So if I didn't catch the bus in time, I was actually going to come back a lot longer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's hard.
So time management definitely became like really crucial. So I never use a planner because I feel like I would use it only for like a week or two, and then I'll just forget all about it. So
yeah.
I actually use my phone a lot to like to actually like well, because it's like the thing that I use the most. So I use my phone to like schedule things. I'm not really punctual, but it's always there as a reminder that okay, I have to do this at this time. And just that, so that really did give me more of a realistic goal of what I was able to do. So definitely use my phone a lot for that.
What would you recommend for a future student athlete in community college? Like, what is your advice?
My advice, ooh, that's a tough one. There's a lot of things I would say. One of them is definitely enjoy your time that you're there, you know? An athlete's life is so short. Definitely, you know, cherish all the memories you have with your teammates and just the experience itself. I always tell people, like, at least do it once. Even though you're not sure after that first year, you did it once and you can look back and you can not see a regret there. But I would definitely say prioritize what's really important because, again, an athlete's life is so short, but you have a whole like lifetime of things to do. So definitely prioritize, you know, school and also your health. We don't really think about our health a lot, whether it's physical or mental. So I would definitely say prioritize that because, you know, at the end of the day, all of that takes a lot of stress in our bodies. So if I would have, you know, paid attention to more of that, I think I would have had a little bit more success during that time period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Do you have anything else to comment about, talk about?
You know, I've competed in college sports probably like 2 years officially, but I went through the journey of 4. I made a lot of mistakes along my way, and I learned a lot about myself, but also like what really got me to love what I wanted to do. And so, yeah, like for me, I don't know, it's just enjoy the time that you have there. Definitely.
Perfect. So there you have it, guys. You heard from Rena, who is a community college athlete. If you have any questions, any comments for her, put them down below, and please subscribe, like, and comment. Bye.